Welcome to another episode of Ball at All Cost. Another week, another episode. Someone actually quoted me on the last week's video with that statement. Another week, another episode. So, I'm going to say it again. We've all got our sayings. Diginio's got his. Je ne sais quoi. Let's see how long it takes him to state that this week. We have a special guest in the building and a good friend of mine. Welcome, Alex Benjamin. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. Not too bad at all. How are you guys?
Not bad, thank you very much. And of course, we have Deji Spurs, Diginio, aka Van Helsing.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, a pleasure to be here. Do you know what? At first, I kind of got taken aback actually when we started to stream, because normally when I see the two of you together, it's on the opposite side of the pitch. But this is the first time that we're going to be together, and actually there's no game, there's no rivalry. It's just good old-fashioned football banter. So it's a pleasure, and I'm really looking forward to it. And I can see that Alex is, you cut him in half, and he bleeds Ryan a bit like you, Andrew. So I can see Ryan heavy tonight.
I don't know about that, but he is sporting his Ryan gear. Rich will be proud. And Alex, I never said to you, looking at this angle, you're looking like a young Andy Cole.
Yeah. A lot of people have had that kind of same thing, same.
Yeah. I can see it. And you got he adopted a Mancunian accent after a while, a little bit. So obviously you got a bit.
Yeah, he's also a Nottingham boy, isn't he? So
yeah, he is. Yeah,
he is.
Many similarities. Maybe we'll get into that in a bit. But guys, listen, it's the Ball at All Costs. You know what we do. You know what I'm going to ask you to do. Please hit that subscribe, that like, that notification, and please feel free to leave a comment. And if you're listening on the audio feed, please do the same. Comments are welcome. Please follow us, and a 5-star review, because we only give you 5-star content. We did the racism pod, the live pod the other week, and I'm going to bring that up because we got trolled a little bit on that. I'm not going to give those trollers the benefit of reading out their names or even their comments, but I just thought, you know what, any comment is a comment, and everyone has the right to make a comment, and it's freedom of speech. But I think if you really want to leave a comment on that pod, please do so. And just be constructive. That's all I'll ask. Be constructive. But we are recording midweek. I'm just letting the listeners behind the curtain. So I'm not going to ask you how your weekends are, gentlemen. I'm just going to ask you, how are you doing? How's your week been so far? And I'm going to say that to Alex. How's your week been so far? Yeah,
not too bad, thank you. Just really, what have I done this week? Just pretty much working throughout the day. Working at home at the moment, and then obviously in the evenings, taking Hayden to football. Monday, Tuesday is what we're on now. Yep. So pretty much working a day, football in the evening, as you guys, probably similar for you guys.
Yeah, pretty much. And yourself, Diginio?
Yeah, that's the work schedule. You work during the day and you work in the evening. And that's just a different type of work. So yeah, it's the same. It's been a heavy week actually. But yeah, and it's going to be another heavy end to the week. But it's one of those where we just have to just dig deep and push through. So I'm in the dig deep, push through kind of phase at the moment. But thank you for asking. Okay. And yourself?
Yes, same thing. I have a different employer in the day, and my employers in the night are my sons. So that's the way it works. Chauffeuring them around. But I didn't ask you, did you? How did you get on at the weekend? Festival Cup season.
Yeah, Festival Cup season. It's been a rough one actually. Since we got beat by the mighty Ryan Red, we've not won a game actually. So we suffered our third defeat on the bounce. We lost to a Brazil team. Fair play to them. Byron Kestrels, I think they were. Okay. Yeah. And lost 2-1. I think for us, like I said to you politely, we were never in the running in the first place. And, dare I say, I stare the champions-elect in the face in the form of your old club, Ryan. So, yeah, we're just going to push through. But, yeah, it's been a difficult time for the boys.
Well, it's the first week. So, I mean, all can change. As long as you get out of the group, you stand a chance as good as anyone. But we'll kick on today because we've got Alex, like I said, a good friend of mine. I've worked alongside Alex. I've coached his son before that, and been a supporter and friend throughout the last 5 years, I think it's been. But before we met, Al, you had your own footballing journey before you got to Ryan and coach down there, and before you tell us your success story. So what does football mean to you, and when did you start, and how far did you get?
Oh, yeah. So I've always, since I've been little, was kicking the ball around. So, yeah, but I've always pretty much loved football. It's always been my passion. Pretty much played throughout school, my junior kind of school. And I think when I got to my age, when I was probably about second year in junior school, I played my first games for the school teams, which obviously playing with all the fourth year, so the oldest boys as well. So I'm tiny, playing with all the older boys. But those ages, you kind of big pitches, heavy balls, bigger balls. You still have to just carry on. Mm-hmm. So played football. That was my first kind of experience of games, organised games. Then I think probably about 11, 12, got my first grassroots team, and realised pretty decent, pretty good. Then we had kind of like we call it districts, so it's like a district trials. So we had district trials, which is the Nottingham Boys trials. So got into that, played for Nottingham Boys for a few years. Good standard. Going all around up north, different club, playing different towns, Sheffield and Grimsby, all over the place, which is really a great experience for a young boy. As I got pushed on a little bit older and played at Nottingham Forest School of Excellence when I was about 14. Then with that, you're still playing Sunday. I was still playing Sunday football. So you at the School of Excellence in the week, and then you still play your club football at the weekends. I was pretty much playing all the time. We played a lot of our Sunday football growing up in Leicestershire because they had the better league.
Okay.
And then from there was playing some of the better boys was playing for like the reserves for one of the non-Leeds teams, like Nuneaton, I think it was, at a young age. So then from there, I had the opportunity to go over to Notts County. So I was there and then got offered scholar. Then before just as I was starting that, I went and played with my friends, playing in a tournament, five-a-side tournament. As you do, you just go and play with your friends because you just love the game. And teared all my ankle ligaments. I didn't play. Then while I was repairing it, the hospital made errors while it was healing, so it didn't heal correctly. So I was out for a year. And then when I came back to try and play, it just wasn't the same. Pretty much the opportunity was gone. And then I didn't play football for about 3 years after that.
Oh. And why was that?
Just because I just fell out of love. It's all I wanted to do. So I didn't play football for 3 years. And then I used to come to, a lot of my family lived in London. So when I was growing up, the majority of my family lived in London. So the 6-week holidays, I'd come to London and spend the time with my cousins, etc. So when I got to a certain age, I just decided to move to London and start working in London and playing football. When I come to London, I didn't play again. Start playing Sunday football with my cousins, and then I started to love the game again.
Yeah.
When I got that love back again, I started playing non-league, like Enfield Town, Cheshunt, this kind of level. And then I got a job in the city, and then you can't leave work at 2-3 o'clock in the afternoon to go and play an away fixture somewhere in midweek. So I kind of just played like some southern amateur kind of football while I was working and moving up in my work. But I always still played. Always still played, and I'm still playing now. Vets.
Yes, you are. Yes.
So
that's a shame, a massive shame, when something out of your control, and I mean it can happen to all, right? But something out of your control derails some promise, and you didn't even get to kick a ball, which is like, you must have been distraught, and I can understand why you kind of left the game, because you felt the game let you down a little bit there. But I'm glad you picked it up again, and I think there are loads of boys in and around Essex and East London. Glad you picked it up again, and we'll get into that, because if you hadn't, they may not have achieved what they achieved, right? So you're in London, you're working, you still playing, you start a family, you have children, you have a son who starts playing. And what were you thinking then?
Well, as you do, when you have your first child, and it's well, my first child is my daughter. Obviously, I love my daughter to bits. That was my first child, so I always wanted to be some kind of sporty route. So I kind of pushed my daughter into a tennis route, which she's really good at. So she kind of carried on with that, and she's still playing now with netball. But then when I had Hayden about 5 years after that, I kind of thought, well, here we go. It's let's see what this boy can do, if he's going to have any kind of even if he like football. So as soon as he could walk, I was putting a ball in front of him to see if he would kick it. Yeah.
Did he?
And he did.
Yeah.
So as soon as I knew he could kick it, it was like, oh yes, here we go. Let's see where we can take this boy. And then from there, I took him like we all lot of fathers do. I took him to Little Kickers.
Another one.
Yeah.
I'm going to do a little bingo card or a little tally chart for Little Kickers.
So I took him to Little Kickers when he was 3. And then after a little while, he was enjoying it. Could see this boy is pretty good. And then he said, "Dad, I can't do this anymore." He's kind of he knows his own mind kind of child.
Mm-hmm.
I said, "Why?" He said, "Dad, I like the football bit, but I can't do the baby kind of stuff of what they do sometimes." He said, "I can't do it."
It's time. It was time. Yeah.
It was his time. He was basically telling me. So from there, I heard about Ole football. And then I messaged Alfie. Alfie said, "Oh, well, he's a bit too young to come over. We don't take him until they're 4.
Yeah.
But I said, "Well, he's nearly 4. He's probably a few months off 4, but he can. I think he'll be all right." He said, "Okay, yeah. Bring him down, see if he's all right, and then we'll take it from there." So I took him down there, and he was fine.
Mm-hmm.
It was just the same as the 4-year-olds and doing. So he just carried on, and he was in Ole until he was 6 or 7. Yeah, about 6 was 6 or 7. He was there till.
What day did you do? Tuesday or the Saturday?
We done the Saturday.
Okay, must have just missed you then, I think.
Well, yeah. Towards the end, Harris was coming down there, wasn't he?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, in the end, we did cross over for a little bit. Yes, and then I think he's tried to switch to the Tuesdays.
Mm.
Yeah. All right. So then from there, yes, we did cross over because we were. Yes, from there you were at Ryan as well by that time. So what took you to Ryan?
Well, a good friend of mine, I was like looking for a club now. So he needs a club to play for. So a good friend of mine and his boys in Luton at the moment, and he said, "Oh, you need to go and let me give you Dave Bicknell's number, message him. They're a good side. Let's see let's see if they can if they got any space over there." So I messaged Dave, and Dave said, "Come down to the soccer school," which he come down to the soccer school, and then I left him there. I watched him for a little bit, and then I left him there because I had to go and drop my daughter to tennis. Then when I got back to pick him up, both Dave and Richard said, "Oh, you done really well." He said, "Oh, we're setting up a team. Can he come training?" And that's when he become part of your Matt's the blue team.
Right. Yeah, that's a familiar kind of routine and pathway there. Shout out to Little Kickers, shout out to Ole Futsal. Kind of standard in East London, Essex. At least one of those two. And then Ryan being one of the teams that the boys go to. And then Dave or Richard seeing promise about the right time. And then you came and joined, like you said, the Blues. So we had the Reds. And the Reds, it's important that we mention the Reds because the Reds were pretty much all pre-academy boys at the time.
Yeah.
And they were playing, I think, for Ryan I think we had Kat. We had the keeper's mum on here. And yeah, I think directly, just as we came out of COVID, those boys went into Ryan. So the Reds were a strong team, but we formed the Blues and we had some good players, some really good players as well. So it was always a bit of a battle, but I do feel like at Ryan at the time, we were a bit like, not seen as the cast-offs of little brother, but we were certainly the B team as opposed to the A team. I'm not saying Richard made us feel like that or Dave, but I think it was clear. And we played our sister team in the Festival Cup semi-final. Do you remember that, Al?
I do, yeah.
What do you remember about that semi-final? Because I know what I remember.
That was a good game. That was a tough, very tough game. But is that when Hayden scored a couple?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right. So Harris hit the bar from about 40 yards, and Hayden said, "I'm going to do one better," and smashed it in bins from about the same distance from a free kick. And I remember, I'm going to tell you what I remember, because I remember it was a tough game. They kind of wanted to beat us. All their guns were out, and they were playing really well. And it was a tight game, but then they got a few goals ahead. And then I thought the boys' heads were going to drop. It was so tense that one of the boys actually out on our side came off with anxiety, like a bit of a panic attack. Big semi-final against the Reds. And then Hayden popped up with that free kick. And then after that free kick, he found himself in a position, I think he followed up a shot, but had no right to get the rebound. And then literally just produced another special moment and got a goal. And that put the boys right back in the game. But the reason I wanted to highlight that is because that game for me was a moment where the boys are young, right? And inconsistent up and down. Some more consistent than others, some less so. But I think Hayden, and we'll get onto him a bit more, he had a propensity to produce magic moments in big games as well, right? Because I remember him scoring against Hannekins in, I think it was the last group game we needed a win or draw. And he came up with a goal then. But in that semi-final, I saw something I'd never really seen, him just take ownership and just show that he is as good as everyone when he's ready on his day. Is that how you remember it?
Yeah, I do. 100%.
Cool.
Yes, it was a good day. We didn't get the win in the end, but I think the boys really dug deep. And I think they showed they showed something that they had to dig really deep to get what they got out of the game, even though they didn't win. But I think stuff like that, you know, you're not going to win every game anyway, but you need to fight to the end, because not just in football, but just in life, you just have to keep going, don't you? And it was just a good learning experience for the boys.
Definitely. So I think that was the first and only time they played that. No, that's a lie. They played the Reds the year later, but they kind of were disbanding at that time. But that was the first time they played them that season. Because yes, we were in Brazil and they were in Argentina, so that would have been the first time. So what happened from there? So Deji, you got a question? Jump in.
No, I'm just listening and kind of enjoying, because you know, from an outsider looking in, the one thing that I didn't think would happen would be a fierce rivalry between the kind of Ryan Reds and the Ryan Blues. I remember that year, and we played that. That was a formidable Ryan team. In fact, Angelo's first game was against that Ryan team at Peter May, and they got trounced 7-2. But in a year later, you know, the game was a lot tighter. But I just remember all the boys, and so as you're putting the pictures together, I'm also reminiscing and remembering things from that year. But what a formidable year group, and those listening in who are part of the Echo League in particular, from under 7, and you know, from Croatia upwards, will understand what we're talking about. You can remember and see the faces. So yeah, I'm just reminiscing and saying, yeah, that great teams there, great teams and great players.
Yeah, so they were, and I think they had a cohort of 7, if I recall, and in the end, all 7 got signed somewhere. All 7 found the club. No, that's a lie. 6 of the 7.
Yeah, bar 1, wasn't it?
Yeah, found the club. And he was at a pre-academy, but it didn't get offered, I don't believe. And then I guess the team that we had formed became the Reds, but then we kind of had to make changes internally. Al, what do you remember about that?
Yeah, so I think it was kind of, the Reds was going. We had to be the Reds from there on. Then we had the trials coming, didn't we? So the trials coming in. So
sorry, Alex, just before you continue, did you have to be the Reds? Why couldn't you stay the Blues? Do you get what I'm saying?
Very good question. I'll answer that one. So we did not want to be the Reds.
Yeah.
Because we had a good thing going as the Blues. We went that summer, won quite a few tournaments. Like we were happy being the plucky underdog as the Blues. But right, so Ryan always have to have a red. And they need to have a red. I guess it's a brand. And also I guess it helps the scouts. Right. So there's a filtration process that automatically happens if you have a Ryan Red team. That's the best team, or best crop of boys, I should say, in inverted commas, who will come onto it for that year group. So the scouts automatically know if they're going to watch a game, watch the Ryan Red under 8, under 9, whatever age group, and that will be a good standard of boys. I think that's kind of the mindset. So as the former Reds disbanded and went on their way to their academy clubs, then we became the Reds, but we wanted to be the Blues. Yeah. And so, Alex, you were saying the trials came up.
Yeah, so the trials coming in. So at that point, there's only one team for that age group. So I decided that I would take a couple of the boys, which Hayden, and I took Rafa as well, and then I knew a few other boys that was looking for clubs, so we had the trials going on, and pretty much built another team. And then we was called the Whites. That season we went into Brazil because we just pretty much made this team. We had a good summer. We built our crop of boys. We had a good summer. We won a tournament, our first tournament for our first set of tournaments for that group of boys, and we went into the league. So we entered the Brazil league, and I think after 4 or 5 games, they moved us up to A.
Yeah, I'm going to pause you there. Alex. I just want to ask you, why did you go into coaching? What was it? What made you feel that that was the thing you wanted to do?
I think I love the game anyway. And I just thought, why don't I give something back? Why don't I kind of help and form a team, help my own boy, obviously, and bring other boys into the team and give them some of the experiences and coaching that I have, and sometimes it's okay. I've got know-how. I kind of done a bit to my badges now, but the football experience, some of it you can't buy. So I thought, let me go into coaching and see if I can help these boys progress, and any little bit of progression is good progression.
Yeah, definitely. And I think you and I had a conversation around the time, and I think I kind of gave you a little bit of a nudge. And I'm only saying that so when we talk about your success a bit later, I can say I had a little hand in it as well. Yeah. Just for the record.
Yeah, you did. You did kind of push me and say, yeah, you should. 100%.
Yeah.
I think sometimes you do need that nudge, don't you? Because you can't even say you have the idea in your head, but it's having the right people around you. So you know what, you should give it a go. You'd be good at that. So it's I did have a couple of people nudge me, and Andrew was definitely one of them that kind of helped me to kind of make that decision. A big thank you to the coach at Ryan. All the ones that have helped me and assisted me throughout the seasons. I don't think, to be fair, done a lot of it without those people helping and assisting. And also, you can't forget the many coaches outside the club that have been really important to the development of Hayden, and also the rest of the 9 boys that have got signed for over the years. Obviously, there's still a long way to go. I just have to keep working hard.
Yeah, well, I'm glad you said that, because I did see the way you saw the game, felt the game, read the game, talked the game. And I knew you had at the time a little bit more flexibility as well. So I thought, you know what, it's not going to put too much stress on you. But more importantly, I felt that you would give the boys that cool, calm, collected, kind of measured approach. So you did. You started the league really well. I think after the second, well, let's be honest. Let's have it right. Let's be honest. You did say to the league you want to be in Argentina. You felt like you had an Argentina side. And they said, no, you're going in Brazil.
Yeah.
And that was a bit difficult, because I guess you had some boys where parents expected you to be in Argentina. How did those conversations happen? And then tell us what happened next. And then Deji, chime in when you're ready, mate.
Well, we pretty much did think that we was going to go into Argentina. And I think a couple of my signings that I had pretty much thought they was going into there. So, but they could see that we had a good crop of boys. So what I kind of said to them is, there is no way that we'll be in this league for long.
Yeah.
We hold tight. We play our games. We be a bit ruthless when we play, and then they'll move us. And then that's exactly what happened. We played 4 games, and the scoreline was ridiculous. And then probably after 4 games, a couple of teams would say they couldn't field a team. So our boys is missing out of games because they didn't want to play us. So they moved us up to A.
Yeah, I think there was a 15 and a 17 in there, I recall. And I remember you used the word ruthless, and you guys were very ruthless.
Yeah, they were.
That is amazing to hear. And because for me, sometimes with the Echo, I think it's so hard to be placed. It's almost like there's a reluctance to allow so-called new teams to be given, even if you know and you feel it inside. The Echo want you to have to almost pay your dues, as it were, before you can be given a place at the high table, if that's what you want to call Argentina. Alex, Andrew preempted this, but so I need to know, and I didn't think I was going to say this, but how did you know that these boys were top level boys? Because just one of the things that I've learned over the years, just because you play in Argentina doesn't mean that you're an Argentina level player. So what was the je ne sais quoi? What was it that you saw in these particular boys that made you feel like, yeah, we're going to be a top team?
I think these boys, there were strong boys, but what I mean by that is they also understood they was fine on the pitch physically, but some of these boys understood the game and they was technically good already at that age. And what I saw was they retained information well. From when you retain information well, you've got an advantage on a lot of the other boys, because the instructions from the side that is coming in from your coaches, they're your coaches for a reason. So if you can retain the information that you're getting given quickly, you've got a good chance of progressing and doing well.
Okay. No, thank you. And then, so you got into, what was the so it's just really about retaining information well. I noticed that one of the things that you guys you did your trials, and I found the whole trial process very, very interesting in terms of, I think we came down, but you guys would do things different. Could you just talk us through that kind of trial period? Why did you most people just let the boys kind of play, but there was some mindset stuff. I mean, you guys had them doing puzzles and all sorts. I don't know what the hell was going on. I didn't know who you guys thought you were, but bloody hell. But talk us through, what was the philosophy? What was the mindset behind that?
I think sometimes having different sets of drills and football scenarios in a session, it kind of allows you to get an understanding of what boys are really like at times and what they can and can't do. Sometimes you can just put boys into a small-sided game and they might look fantastic, and then you kind of give them a couple of bits of different instructions and make the pitch a bit bigger, and then they become a little bit more lost. So I think giving them more different scenarios allows you to have a better look and see sometimes you see stuff that they didn't even know they had.
Yeah.
And then so that's why. Andrew, do you agree?
Yeah, no, bang on. I mean, you've seen it. I touched on it with the pod with Kev, right? You get, obviously we were not going to play 11 aside, but I've seen it. You get 22 boys who don't know each other. You put them in a big game and you don't necessarily get quality. You get something that's very scrappy, and then you've now got to pick the bones out of that. But when we had 4 coaches, and we divided the big Astro into 4, right? And I think we trusted each other in terms of each other as coaches. Matt was the lead coach at the time. He was doing his UEFA B, and he kind of wanted to do it slightly differently, to be honest. And we all had input into what it should be like. The mindset one was kind of my idea, because we wanted to see who the bad eggs were, and if they were a bad egg, why they were a bad egg, and also who the quiet ones were, who the loud ones were, who were the leaders, right? Because playing football, you can see some of that, but the mindset one was literally who, I think it was like a big brother, make up your own drill. Who's going to take the lead? Yeah. Who's going to listen? Who's not going to listen? Who's going to be able to get their input across? Who's creative? right? Are they going to work together? Those type of things. So we're trying to touch on the four corners there, rather than just play football and say who's the most technical, who's the best player, who's going to dominate. And I think it worked.
Yeah.
And we did it the following year as well. I think I recall.
Yeah, I thought it worked.
And then the question I had, just one more question. So you know, Alex, this is the first time we've actually had a proper good old chat, and one thing that comes across is real, recognize real. You come across like a proper footballing man. I can only imagine the sort of player that you were, but I can tell that you were a serious player. And so as a coach, did the parents in your team, were they aware of your history or your past, your footballing prowess? And were you trusted with decision-making with the kids? For example, because you have this footballing background, clearly you're seeing something in maybe potentially in their child's game that they haven't seen. And so how did you navigate those discussions, if those discussions were had?
Sometimes it was difficult at times. The majority of the time, I was trusted in what I was doing. And I think some of the parents did know that I've played the game, and I've got good experience, because they can see that when I'm coaching and the passion and why I'm doing it. And when I'm coaching, I'm not just telling them what to do, I can show them. I think that went a long way. I think sometimes I did have difficult conversations with parents at times when they may not understand of why I'm doing certain things or why they're not playing in that position. And I was always fair and honest with them, but you've got a team, and if you've always got more than one player that can play in another position. So just because you have a preference of where your child wants to play, they need to be rotated. Sometimes they'll get more of the ball in a certain position. So a prime example, when I took the Whites on my first season, so one of the boys we had, he used to play right wing.
Yeah.
Good dribbler, dribbled a lot. Yeah. But they sometimes used to over dribble at times. So I put him back. I played him at right back. So I played him right at the two at the defence. Always got on the ball. He could see the game in front of him. Now the game's in front of him, he changed into a totally different player. All of a sudden, his tail's up when he plays in regards to his confidence, and his game is pushed on. And then from a boy that was kind of in himself a little bit and not always getting success on the right-hand side of the pitch, he was getting more success, more confident, and pushed on. And then he got signed that year.
Fantastic. Now, thank you. Now, Andrew, back to you.
Yeah, so many questions. I know, obviously, it's just nodding and smiling along because I know exactly who that was and what you did. And I was actually going to mention that before you just did. So you played in a specific way. Your team was different to ours. I think you kind of started with a blank canvas when you built your team. And we admired the way that you got the boys playing football. Do you want to talk us through kind of what you saw, what you wanted to achieve, and how you managed to achieve that?
So I just wanted the boys I had. There was football. There was good technical boys, and I know there were a majority of the boys just want to dribble. And what I was saying to them, I want you to dribble, but I want you to have an idea on why you're doing what you're doing. So I'd rather you dribble, take someone on, to create space for you to either shoot or to create space. You're bringing another player in, so that means your teammate is open. Or rather, you don't just dribble for the sake of dribbling without having an idea. Create patterns of play. Know when to have one touch, when to have two touches, and know when to take one or two players on and do what you need to do. So I think the boys took that on board, and they realised when they started to get success from that, they started doing it more. And the first season I took the boys, they done really well, but it was a bit of a baptism of fire going into A when we did from the first season. They done well. There was kind of level par, but we still wasn't one of the top teams and nowhere near. But the boys that season did get far and got to the semi-final of the Echo Cup that season. And they actually beat the Reds in the quarterfinals.
Yes, you did.
Which was a great achievement. We got a bit of a spanking in the semi, I think, but it was a good achievement to get to the semi from our very first season. But from the second season, I lost a couple of boys to academies that season.
How many did you lose? How many success stories were there?
Two in that first season.
Right wing and striker, right?
Yeah, that's correct.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So you had to kind of rebuild and tool up because it was going in from 5s to 7s, right?
That's correct. Yeah. And then we became the Blues that season. And
can I just say, Deji, that's a promotion from Whites to Blues, right? There's a promotion. Yeah.
I remember the team from when they were blue. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't. Yeah.
So we became the Blues. We kind of recruited again, and I think that recruitment was we already had a good bunch of boys, core, and then we brought in a few more boys, and we were just so good. Those boys we played, and it wasn't that they were just winning games. They looked good. They looked like footballers. They moved the ball quickly. They moved the ball well. We kind of destroyed teams just by playing football. Not particularly bullying teams, but by playing football. And the boys are interchanging a lot, especially at the back in the midfield. They interchanged a lot in regards to giving each other different spaces on the pitch. I really enjoyed that season.
So they look good. They certainly look good. And I think it's interesting, right? Because I think certainly the Reds, if it became gritty, we were the favourites in our derby matches, right? If this is initially, so if you look at that season where you got to the semi-final, typically, I think we fared better in Argentina then because we were ready to get grittier, I think, than your team. I think your team got a bit wiser and obviously recruited. I think you upscaled in talent. I'm going to ask you about how you recruited in a bit, but I feel like you started the season playing good football, but I think throughout the season you became a bit wiser. And I'll tell you why I say that, because I remember playing you guys and we were winning the game. You weren't actually there this week. You weren't there. And I know you weren't there because there was a particular scenario whereby one of your boys, a very talented boy, didn't want to come back on because you were losing. And I didn't really know the boy at the time, and I tried to get him to come back on the pitch just because A, he should be playing, B, he was good enough to make a difference in the game. And this was the season before, actually. And I say this to say that particular player, I think the following season, he didn't come back on that day, but the talent was very evident with this boy. And I think you had this with him and the previous player you mentioned, like Rafa. Technique was there, but they weren't mature enough yet to put all of their ability into showcase, or to focus and showcase all their ability. How did you manage those kind of talents and get the best out of those boys? Because once you did, you almost became untouchable.
I think what I remember when I was playing football, I knew what made me kind of go to another level, and that was getting into my mind and telling me how good you are. You obviously need boundaries. You need to be able to listen to what's being told to you. But if you can say things the correct way, you'll be surprised what you can get a player to do. And I think I was very strict in regards to when we're coaching. But as long as you're retaining the information, we're playing, and you're listening to what we're doing, I'm not going to be screaming and shouting. I'm not a screaming and shouting kind of coach. I can be loud in regards to if you're not listening, and I'll stop the session. But in regards to screaming and shouting, I'm not. It's just not one of those coaches. So I think they trusted me, and they trusted what I was saying, and I think with that kind of allowed them to express themselves without fear.
Brilliant. And sorry, Dej, I'm going to let you jump in. I do remember the point in which I thought, oh, Alex has got a good team here, because we used to have to stop our training sessions because we decided to let the boys play each other during training, at the end of training, for like 20, 30 minutes. And previously we could have done that, but there was a time where I think early days, to say the Whites may not have competed with us, and then they were able to. But when this crop came in, I think it became very tasty. Let's just say the boys got very tasty, and it got very physical. I was going to say all with good spirit, but I think actually there was edge. There was actually edge.
Yeah.
And I think that was because the Reds were like, who are you lot trying to be better than us and beating us? So, yeah, there was a few egos bent out of joint. And that's when I knew. I thought, oh, we've got to watch these guys. We have to watch them. And then we stopped. We stopped playing. We couldn't do it.
Yeah. Did get a bit. There was a few edgy sessions, which is bizarre because that's not what we'd want. Is they're still a 1-1 team. The benefit was that we had two top teams that could play each other to improve at training, which was not many clubs have had. So it was good, but yeah, we did have to stop after a while.
Yeah, I think that was just a bit of immaturity, maybe parents in the ears saying, "Don't let them do this to you" or whatever. But I mean, you went on to have success, so maybe it did help, and maybe you didn't need necessarily to play us. Maybe we needed to play you more. Who knows? But Deji, sorry, did you have a question?
No, I just said, whatever it was, it sounded like it fostered a really good environment, because today you guys are reaping the fruits of that kind of iron sharpens iron environment. I just wanted to quickly touch on the Festival Cup win, but also moving into this season and what's happened this season at the club and some of the changes, how you've personally felt with that. So, but just quickly going back to the Festival Cup, one of the few, I say to people, winning the Festival Cup is no mean feat. If my mathematics is correct, for our kids' age group, they might only do it. You can only have 5 separate winners. That makes sense, because after under 12, you go 8 EJ, yeah. So for you to have achieved that, that is pretty remarkable stuff. I mean, it's legendary stuff. Did you know that season that the team was capable, or were you surprised?
No, I wasn't surprised whatsoever. We was winning not every week, but most weeks we was playing teams off the park. We was going into development centres and beating them comfortably. Was going into academies, playing academy teams. I think we lost one game in 13 months. Wow. From pre-season until we won the cup. So we kind of knew that we had a good team and they worked really hard for each other. So we kind of fought, all the players, the parents, and we thought we got a really good chance. Nothing's guaranteed in football, and I was a little bit worried that they was too confident in regards to taking things for granted, which happens in football, but they didn't. We did. I think that, like, even the game that we did lose in the early, I think around the early side of the season. That was to a very good. That was. Can you remember there was Hannikin's Tigers, was it, Andrew?
The Tigers, yeah.
Yeah, they had all academy Cat A, Cat 1 boys in there. And the thing is, I had a feeling that we was going to lose that game because we went into Spurs that week to play there, that same team, because a lot of them was there.
Yeah.
And we beat them quite comfortably. It was quite an easy game. So because we were playing them on the Sunday, I said, boys, do not take things for granted. These are good footballers, and they beat us comfortably. I think they needed that.
Mm-hmm.
That was the catalyst to push them on, that loss there. And then obviously when we did have that return fixture, we beat them comfortably.
Yeah.
So I think that loss pushed us on to be successful that season.
Am I making it up, Alex? But are you one of the few Blues, if not the only Blue? Because you won the Festival Cup as a Blue or a Red?
A Blue.
So are you one of the few Blues that won the Festival Cup, if not the only Blue?
I don't know.
Yeah,
possibly.
Because usually it's the Reds, isn't it? So for you guys to have done that,
don't rub it in, Dej.
Do you know what I'm saying? So I'm just bigging it up. Like it's almost similar to kind of the Proverbs, where almost that kind of underdog, you're not expected to do it. And I remember some of the boys that you brought in that year as well. Good players, but again, I don't think anyone was thinking at the beginning of the season that your team was going to be the ones picking up the trophy at the end of the season. They were looking at for want of a better word, more of the household names, the Reds, the Yellows, the Blacks in other teams. Do you get what I'm saying? Yeah. So to even say that you did that's pretty impressive.
Yeah. Can I? Sorry, I'll go.
Yeah, I think in the early stages we probably didn't think that we would achieve what we achieved. But as the season got further on, I think we could kind of see, well, these boys have got something here.
Yeah. I just wanted to say to that, and the Proverbs victory, I think it's very important the parents, boys themselves, and everybody making noise allow teams to develop and to grow together and to train together and to get coached. Because I say that Alex had a specific system that he played in his teams, but especially the 7-a-side format, where his wide players were very wide. They were wide forwards, not inverted, but they were wide. They made the pitch really big. And then they had players in the middle who were clever, who could play, who could distribute, play off 2 touches if need be, or 3. And they pressed really well, right? And they had good footballers at the back, but I think it was very specific, and it took time in training I often would glance over at his sessions and be like, oh, I like that drill. I like that drill. But if the boys didn't actually get coached, they wouldn't have been able to play in that way. They had good footballers. And the reason I say that is because if I go back to who I felt was your best player, right? I'll say it, you don't have to. I felt he was your best player. Supremely technical. Left footer as well.
Yeah.
Good height. Just everything he did looked so easy.
Okay.
But he was immature. Right? He was even not as mature as he needed to be that season in order to achieve personal success, if you class being signed as personal success, because he didn't achieve it that season, right? You won the Festival Cup. You lost a few boys again to academy that season, right? How many did you lose? 2? 3?
I think 2. Might have been. I think it was 2. Was it 3?
Certainly 1, 2. And then coming the following season, you started back. You had to kind of rebuild, retool, but there were internal changes at Ryan, but you still had to retool. And I think you built again. What does your recruitment process look like? Because you've managed to, I think, build good teams, good football inside, and managed to get boys in that end up being signed. And you can easily say, yeah, most Argentina teams do that. But I think yours is slightly different because you haven't always been the top side in the club itself.
I kind of just look for you obviously, can you play? And what I mean by that is it's not just can you dribble. Do you understand what you're doing with football? Do you know how to receive it on where the danger is? Do you know how to receive which foot to receive the ball on, to take the ball on? Little things, how you open up your body. You can kind of tell a footballer. When I say footballer, that you've got good ability and good game awareness, because they're not footballers yet. The kids, they're learning. So I want dribblers. I'm happy to have dribblers because as you know, one of my strikers is a very good dribbler and we think a bit maverick.
Yeah.
At times, you allow him to do what he's doing, but he also knew when, not all the time, but that's what mavericks do. But the majority of the time, he knew when to release the ball. So sometimes a lot of the time he would have a picture in his head of why he's doing what he's doing. Sometimes it is a bit maverick, but that was the maverick in him. You can't kind of get that out of him, and you wouldn't want to. But I think I don't know if it's a little bit of luck, but
so we make our own luck, I believe.
Yeah, but I think it's just looking for certain traits, and basic traits. I think sometimes the game gets a little bit overcomplicated. Sometimes the coaches overcomplicate the game, which then the players then overcomplicate the game, and then we moan at them for making wrong decisions consistently. But you're like, sometimes you're giving them too much instructions, and rather than the basic of the instructions.
Yeah, I hear you. And then I think you make a good point, because I think you're very clear in what you want. You like you said, you don't overcomplicate it. You created another side, and it's hard to pull off back-to-back Echo Cup victories. I'm not sure anyone's done it in our age group, and for various reasons. But what I think has been consistent is, I think that season you ended up losing at least 1, 2, I lose track of the time, players to academy. And I know this season we recruited again. I joined you back end of last season, or beginning of last season. And I think in that time, boys have kind of left our team, but been signed directly after they left our team. So we're including those. And then more recently, we've had success with our goalkeeper, who you had all the way throughout, pretty much. Obviously, Harris. Dee's one of ours, right? One of yours originally. I remember when he came to trial. And I can say it on this pod now, can't I? And your son. So what do you put that down to? Is that luck? Is that just recruitment? Is there something you're putting in the water at halftime or the oranges?
No, not at all. So I think, like I say, going back to looking for certain traits in a child, in a boy, like for when, like Dee's been with me for a long time, very talented boy. It's a very talented boy, and obviously he's signed now. And then the other Hudson, you had Adam on the pod. He's very, very talented boy. I think when he came
undersized as well, by the way.
Yeah, he is. And when he come to me, it's like he was that last bit of a puzzle for the team. And I think it's his understanding of what he needs to do, and he doesn't need to hold on to the ball. He looks to what he sees is what he plays, and I like that. So I don't know if there's anything in the water, but with like Hayden signed now, he's gone to play with a couple of his old teammates, which is nice. Mm-hmm. Devontae and Hudson. So I think with Hayden, I was in no rush with him. He's always had a talent, but I knew if I pushed him into an academy system or too early in his life, from his kind of mindset and personality of that child, he was not mature enough to go into an academy system. It would have broke him. So you don't need to go in there. Basically, every child's different, so you need to know your child and when it's time for them to go in. Some go in early, it's fantastic, but if you think your child's not ready, you don't want to push them into a scenario that you think that it's not beneficial for them. So I held him back and to let him develop. He trains just as much as some of those boys anyway, if not more. He trains 4 days a week, near enough. He plays Saturday and Sunday, so his contact time, he was getting lots of it. So for me, he's going in now was perfect. I thought it was best time for him to go in is about under 12. As he matures, as the pitches get bigger, he's a technical boy, but I've always taught him to make good decisions on the pitch. So his ball striking is very, very good. His ball striking is
very good, very, very good. I think you're underplaying it there, mate.
He's very, very good, and his first touch is very, very good. So what I've always done for him from a young age, I've got a goal in my garden, I've got a big net. So from a young age, he's done ball striking. So since I can remember 4. So one of the parents said to me, how comes Hayden strikes a ball like that? I said, because we've been doing it since 4 for hours every week. So when I was growing up, I didn't have like the parenting those days. You kind of had to kind of do your own thing. You go out with your friends, you play football. But what I kind of promised to myself that is anytime that Hayden said can we go outside in the garden? I might be in the middle of something, but give me 15 minutes, I'll put it down and we go out. So even if it's for half an hour. So we've been doing this. and I've never said no since he's been 4. So we do ball strike. When he's not training, we do ball striking, we do first touch. So every time we do ball striking, I throw the ball to him. So he thinks he's just working on ball striking, but he's not. I'm working on his first touch. So his first touch is very, very good. It's very high level. So now his first touch, as he gets older, when the ball's coming to him on a bigger pitch, he doesn't even need to worry about his touch. As a footballer, you need to know what direction are you going to put the ball from your first touch. Because if you're thinking about your first touch, you're already losing. So that's why he strikes the ball very, very well, and his first touch is very good. Because as the pitches get bigger, the game changes. So I know I'm obsessed with football. I was watching West Ham. Who was it? West Ham, Man United under 18s final, and they play like they're playing the Premiership. So as the pitches get bigger, you can't just be dribbling around the pitch. That's not football. So you kind of need to be able to adapt your game, because as the game changes, you need to change. But if you already do certain things, those aspects of the game already as a young boy, as you get older, it'll become easier for you, and you'll be a little bit ahead.
That's good. I love that, and I love the fact that you encourage that. It's one of my big bugbears of grassroots football is when I find young kids not playing with intellect, or not playing for the team. They're just kind of doing a Celine Dion all by myself. Drives me absolutely bonkers. I got one question really. It's really good to hear your journey. I know all of your kids, and I guess the question that a lot of the viewers would be thinking, because I am the viewer, is how do you know that the academy, and this is to both of you, how do you know you've made the right decision? Because for me, when I think of your boys, and forgive me if I have taken this conversation slightly left, but I see Cat 1 players in my view. You know what I mean? I see boys potentially who could play for Chelsea, who could play for Arsenal. And so part of me thinks, could you have waited longer? Why did you make the decision that you made now? What was it? Does that make sense? So it's not to challenge, but like, what was it about where you're going that you thought, you know what, I'm going to take the plunge now? Because you mentioned, Alex, you ideally in your mind, you were thinking of 12. So you still kind of have about 10 months to go in theory, or just less. Do you know what I mean? And Andrew, I want you to chip in as well, because I think you're in the same boat.
Like I said, there's no right or wrong time. And I think it's all dependent on your child. I think how good the Echo, I think Echo Air is so underrated. It's so powerful. So when you're doing well in the air, there's nowhere else for you to go. There is no better league, I don't think, in the southeast of England. There is no stronger league, doesn't come close. There might be good teams in other leagues, but the competition in the Echo A is immense. So I think when you think, you know what, I'm ready to push on. I think if you can, you do it. If you think your child's ready, you do it. I see it as if you're lucky enough to get in there, you're kind of in the system, but it's still your own journey. It's you've got teammates in there. You've got good coaches in there, but it's still your own personal journey. Because as I know, with playing football, the amount of different players you played with over the years is unbelievable. Lots. The amount of different managers you will have is lots. It's just it's just from going from grassroots to an academy, and it's all you're doing. You're just in a different environment, but you're fortunate now. You're in the system. You're getting more contact time, so your training's going from 1 or 2 weeks on grassroots to 3 training sessions and a game. So you're getting more contact time, getting good coaching. So I think it's it's not one shoe fits all. I think it's all dependent on your child, because if you speak to anyone in the academy of an older age, and say, for example, an under 15, under 16s that have been there, if they're lucky enough to go in there at under 9s, you say how many's in there from the under 9s? They'll probably say a small few. So they've all come in later anyway.
Yeah, no, exactly. And thank you. And then my last question, I think, of the evening, and Alex, you were speaking to my heartstring. I've publicly declared war on every single area in the country to say that the Echo League is by far the best league in the country. I've put it out there, and I've actually recommended people to at us at our Instagram / YouTube. But I think people keep talking south of the river. I think it's the Essex water, mate, in moving forward. East London and Essex. I guess the question I wanted to ask you is, I actually think Echo A is on par with some academies. Would you agree? Based now that you've had the experience, you've managed, you've now gone in, you can see week in, week out, the level of player. Is there a big gap between Echo A, for example, and the academies or some academy teams?
There's not a big gap at all. There is some academies that they are elite and above. You can see why they're where they are, but they're not. There's not that much difference in a lot of the top Echo A sides and a lot of the academies out there. And I think as you come out of the southeast of the country, so come out of London and say, for example, if you probably went further down to north, and if you've gone to maybe quite south, I believe probably a lot of the top Echo teams beat a lot of those academies. But it's also, there's a difference, right? Because in the academy system, they're developing boys. And also on the flip side of that is on grassroots, they're just going out there to win. So there's also that to it as well. So not all the Echo boys would be ready for an academy level. So it's and that's why you always get churn anyway.
Yeah, makes sense. Andrew, did you want to chime in as well? Because obviously, you did, and we didn't really I didn't ask you that question when we touched on your boy and
yeah.
I think we were more celebrating, but actually the whole, what made you think that was the right decision for you, if that makes sense?
Yeah, I'll preface this by saying that I keep teasing an Academy Series pod for my boy, but I'm waiting for Ade. But because his boy trains on the even days and my boy trains on the odd days, I don't think we can manage to get a pod together, and Sundays are not the best for him. So I will spill the tea on some of it. What made me choose his club over a Cat 1? So I think I have a decent understanding of a lot of the Cat 1s local to us and what's in there and what isn't in there. And this is not me saying I don't back my son, but ultimately you want to see a career path for him. You want to see, can he go in and are there going to be opportunities for him? Because he had opportunities to go into Cat 1s. He was training at a Cat 1, but timing's everything, right? And Al will tell you, Al knows exactly what I'm talking about. That there's opportunities, luck is preparedness meeting opportunity. I think I've said that before. So I feel like he was prepared. I feel like there were opportunities, but one of the opportunities wasn't there where he was actually training. So that closed that door. Another one did open up, but I was well aware of what they had. And do I want him fighting for minutes? Do I want him fighting for opportunities? Unnecessarily. the answer is no, not when I know he can go somewhere else where he's cherished and can develop quicker and gain more opportunities.
Yeah.
And that's why I chose where he is. And that club is close to my heart. Obviously, we had Kevin on here a couple of weeks ago, so that'll explain that. And I also trained down there for a period of time, so I know what that club's about.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, I think secondly that is it, like when Hayden got the offer, which we was over the moon with, but we could see that he would be happy there. You know, when I going back to what kind of coaches I think that gets the best out of kids and people, I think that environment would suit him. And I think if it suits him, he'll flourish. And if he flourishes, it's obviously fantastic for obviously himself and for the club.
Yeah. And can I just ask one more question? Sorry, and this will be my last question, promise. So I guess, look, I'm asking questions because you guys, you're in the privileged position of being in there. But I'm speaking for the people who are like myself, who are not there yet or might never get there. So I guess the question is, when you think football and you're thinking of your child and you're thinking of the academy, what does success look like? I believe, and look, feel free to put it in the comments and say, Bed, shut your mouth. Don't speak for me, speak for yourself. But naturally, everyone's thinking Premier League, or at least I do. I'm thinking, oh, we got to get into Man City, got to get into Newcastle, got to get into Arsenal. I know that's not realistic, but that's my thought. My thought's always Prem. What is your thought process? So your thought process, and also what would success look like for you, or if you don't mind sharing, and that's to both of you.
Success for me is he plays at the level he plays at. So, and what I mean by that is there's levels in the game. So if your level is any League Two or League One, Championship, as he gets older, you'll see your level, and that's where you play. And I think it might not be at that level to make that, but you'll find your level, and that's where you play.
And you'd be happy with that?
Yeah.
Cool.
I'd be happy with that.
Cool. Come.
Yeah, it's just on the back of that, similar to that, and it sounds like a cop-out, but it really isn't. I think I reiterate this pretty much every week. I spoke to somebody today who I didn't know, and we had a similar conversation. For me, I always wanted to give and I've said it on this pod before, I'm sure, I always want to give my boys the gift of football. And I do believe it's a gift. So let them play, let them enjoy, let them have fun. And similar to what Alex said, they'll play at the level that they're capable of playing at. And ultimately, if they're playing National League and they have to work as well and they're happy, what's wrong with that? That's brilliant. That's brilliant. Still some great days, still some great fixtures for them. If he gets into the league and plays League Two, what's wrong with that? He could be earning above the average wage doing that. And if he goes higher, then he's having a good living and doing something he loves. But ultimately, the gift of football allows him to communicate with people he probably wouldn't speak to when he's older, keeps him fit, which is very important, gives him an outlet as well, because as you get older and you start having the stresses of life, you need your partner, you need your family, you need your income, but you also need your outlet. And I don't mean he's going fighting people on the Sunday just to get out your frustrations, but you're burning off energy, you're burning off that adrenaline, some of that you built up in a week. So that's it for me.
Thank you. And I keep saying last question, but
just bundle him. This is easier.
Yeah, bundle it. Well, again, Alex, look, coming from your background, listening to your journey tonight, it's been amazing. the work that you've done, your achievements, what you've achieved with your boy. I think this is the right question. I haven't asked this question in a while. Was it and is it ball at all costs for you?
No, I wouldn't say ball at all costs, but I want him to be the best he can be, and with that is, I know that with children, they always say that, oh, if they don't want to go to training or they don't want to do that, save your money. I've heard all that before. Yeah. But with the distractions of life at times, sometimes you have to take them to where they need to get to. Yeah. I know when I was younger, I would be one who was allowed to play out when we was kids. I'd play out and sometimes might forget about training, which is, it's not that I didn't want to train, it's the hassle of getting there and stuff like that. It's so you make silly decisions when you're a child. Yeah. And that's because you're a child. So sometimes you have to take them to places, because there's been days when he might not have wanted to go somewhere, and I've taken him and he's had a great session, and he's been amazing. And so it's not that he didn't want to go. There's distractions. Kids have got too much distractions now. So it's not ball at all cost, but I will push him to get the best, to do the best for himself. When he gets to a certain age, if he then decides he doesn't want to play football, that's totally up to him. But I will do my job as his dad, and then see where it all takes on what he becomes.
Okay. And just to add to that, I feel like it's very important that we introduce and normalize commitment and what that looks like. So if your child has made a commitment to play for a team, to improve your parents' book sessions, I think it's important that we try to ensure that the kids stick to that. That breeds discipline and understanding of what commitment looks like, and it falls in line with what Alex is saying, because there are many times all kids, every parent who's listening to this, they know their child has not wanted to go somewhere, may not be football, but may not want to go somewhere because they're distracted doing something else. But once they're there, they've had a great time, whatever that is. So that is our role as parents.
Yeah. Well, that's me. Thank you. It's been a pleasure.
Okay. So, Al, you know the score by now. We're going to do a few quick fire questions. This next question will either validate or invalidate everything you just said for the last hour and 20 minutes. Who is your GOAT?
Messi.
Okay. Valid. It's validated. It's good. Do you want to add anything to that, Messi? Any other honourable mentions?
Nah, just Messi for me. But the original Ronaldo, just something special about that guy. He was those R9. He was a special player. But it's been a great pod. Thanks for having me on.
Before you go, we've got two quick questions. Two more.
Yeah, go ahead.
You're familiar with the 4-corner model.
Mm-hmm.
If you could put in a percentage for each corner, what would it be?
Mental would be up there.
Yeah. So psychological corner, what are we giving that?
Psychological. You obviously need the physical attributes. So the percentage. So I go more mental, physical, technical,
and then social. What are we doing? You've said them, but you're not giving me a percentage, Al.
I would say
he doesn't want to give you. That's why.
I would say a lot of. Obviously, you need the technical ability. So I'd say 60% technical.
Oh, that's high.
Yeah. 60% technical, because if you haven't got technical ability, it's what you're going to do. You know, you could have the most social skills in the world, and you could have the best brain in the world. If you haven't got no technicals, you've got nothing. You've got no baseline.
And we're talking, just prefacing, so I didn't say this. This is always under 11 foundation phase, as that's where the boys are. So this is where we're at. So yeah, 60% technical. You've got 40% to play with, 3 corners left.
So no, so let me go 50% technical.
Yeah.
And physical, probably 15. What have I got? So 50,
35 left for
35 left
for psychological
and social. Yeah.
And social.
And
yeah.
Psychological 20, 25, I would say.
Yeah. So you 10% for social.
Yeah.
Okay. And you know what's funny is when I think about your teams that you built, the technical element was probably the highest corner you relied on. So I can see why you placed that so highly. And, you know, when I think about some of the boys, I mean, psychological was there, social. Yeah, it makes sense. It makes sense. So that's 50, was that 20, 15 and 10, 25 and 10. That's right. That makes 100. Yeah. Kobe, make sure you got all of that so we can do a little poster that we like to do for that. And the last question now, you know this one. If there's, and you've got to help us with this, with the answer. If there's anybody you can think of who we haven't had on the pod, who would make a great guest on the pod, who would that be? And before you answer that, you have to help us get them on.
Yeah, I've got someone I've in my mind that I can think you can get them on. I think they'll do it, and I'll help get them on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, you're gonna keep the name under your hat just to make sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Send me a text. I think I know who that might be, so I'm excited.
Yeah, I got someone in mind. I got one of the guys that coach. So he's a coach. You guys probably know him anyway. So
yeah.
I can get him on.
Be perfect. I know exactly what you're talking about. I thought so. All right, brilliant. Listen now, it's been a fantastic pod. We were aiming for an hour. We've done nearly an hour and a half. So that just shows you what conversations are like when we talk football, the gift of football. Before you go, I'm just going to say to all the listeners, if you've enjoyed this conversation and you're still with us, we know that you are true to this. So please introduce somebody who is new to this. And for those that are true to this, please, if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button, hit a like, notification, and please leave a comment. Comment away on anything you agree with or disagree with. Or even just give us stick like some of you have done in the past. We don't mind. And if you're listening on the audio feed, 5-star comment or rating, because we give you 5-star content. Follow us and leave a good review. We've been Ball at All Costs. He's been Alex Benjamin, and we are out.
See you later.
Bye. Thanks, guys.